Greetings to all, and in today's class we are just going to discuss something about discourse markers in English. So discourse markers are nothing but it's like a linking word or linking phrase that we use during our communication. And here I just pointed out some of the discourse markers that we use in English. That is anyway, actually, basically, obviously, to be honest, frankly, on the other hand, not only but also, all these are some of the discourse markers that we use in English. These discourse markers, it will help us to fill up the gap during our flow of conversation. Also, it helps us to connect the ideas. Also, these discourse markers, it helps us to express how we feel. Also, these discourse markers, it helps the speaker to think. Suppose if a speaker, he forgets something else while communication, these discourse markers will help us to fill up the gap. Also, these discourse markers, it helps us to make our communication more natural. So now I just given some of the sentences in English with and without discourse markers. Let's see how it appears. First of all, the sentence is without discourse markers. I really like studying English. It is interesting, it is challenging, I meet new people, and I learn about other cultures. I must say that I find it difficult because of four things: the grammar, the punctuation, the pronunciation. Now the same sentences are given with discourse markers. Let's see how it appears. To start with, I really like studying English. Firstly, it is interesting. Secondly, it is challenging. Thirdly, I meet new people. And fourthly, I learn about other cultures. However, I must say that I find it difficult because of four things. Firstly, the grammar. Secondly, the punctuation. Thirdly, the pronunciation. So these sentences with discourse markers like to start with, firstly, secondly, thirdly, fourthly, however, all these with all these discourse markers, this sentences it is little more clear when compared to the sentences without discourse markers. So these discourse markers, it will make our communication more clear to the audience. So now if you just look into these examples, I just given you some more examples. So smoking is proved to be dangerous to the health. Nonetheless, 40% of the population smokes. Our teacher promised to take us on a field trip. However, but he changed his mind last week. At first, he just promised us to take us on a field trip, but he changed his mind. Sridhar was warned not to invest all of his savings in the stock market. But this fellow, he doesn't bother about all those words from the people. Nevertheless, he invested everything else and lost everything else. So these words like nonetheless, however, nevertheless, all these sentence connectors we will use while having some contrast ideas with ourselves. So now let's see a little more elaborate about the discourse markers in English. So if you want to add something to the information that was said by you before, you can use these discourse markers in English. That is, moreover, in addition, additionally, further to this, also, besides. So I just given you some examples over here. So there was a man behind her. Moreover, he was observing her strangely. So there was a man behind her. In addition to that, that fellow, moreover, he was observing her strangely. The refugees are short of food. In addition to that, they also need some medical assistance. Next month, you will receive a raise in a pay. In addition to that, you will be getting a promotion also. So these sentence connectors or discourse markers like moreover, furthermore, in addition, all these discourse markers, it helps us to add something to the information that was said by us before. Okay, now if you just look into this part of the discourse markers. So if you want to make a contrast between your ideas, you can use these sentence connectors in English. That is, however, on the other hand, in contrast, yet all these sentence connectors, it helps us to make a contrast between our ideas. So now if you just look into the examples over here. High-level positions are stressful at times. On the other hand, the financial reward make these positions very desirable. So high-level positions are really stressful at times. But in opposite to that, on the other hand, the financial rewards make those positions very desirable, isn't it? And now if you just look into the next one, the engineer said the bridge was now safe. However, no one wanted to risk crossing it. So the engineers, they just said that the bridge was now safe to use, but the people, they don't want to take risk in crossing it. So in contrast to that engineer's words, these people, they don't want to risk their life. So if you just look into the next one, in contrast to a profit of $6.2 million a year earlier, the company lost $7 million this quarter. So in the previous year, the company made a profit of 6.2 million. But in contrast to that, now it lost nearly $7 million. Also, if you just look into the next one, Edison dropped out of school at an early age itself. But still, this fellow, that is Edison, he became a famous inventor. So these sentence connectors, like on the other hand, however, in contrast, yet all these discourse markers, it helps us to make a contrast between our ideas. So with this, let me conclude the session. Still, there are some more sentence connectors to be discussed. We'll just meet in the next class. Thank you.